Welcome to this week's Off the Court, and joining me in the studio today is superstar and England Roses shooter Berri Neil. And I'm actually really excited, Berri, because I don't think we've done a proper one of these yet, have we?
No, we haven't. We did like a short one courtside, but not a proper chat, which will be really exciting.
This is a proper get to know you session.
Yeah.
And off the back, I said this just before we came on air, off the back of you beating your old team, and this is becoming a little thing. We had Bree Grierson in here the other week who came in after Nottingham Forest beat London Pools, and Loughborough Lightning played them last night in a top of the table clash away from home, and you got the victory, and we're happy to talk about it as long as we don't talk about the fourth quarter. Is that right?
Yeah, let's ignore the fourth quarter for now. Let's start with the first quarter, shall we?
Let's start with that game then, because it blew out for long periods of the game. You only ended up losing by 5 at the end.
Yeah.
And that allowed London Pools to get a bonus point, which meant that they've stayed top of the table.
Yeah. Not great. I think we spoke about in the changing rooms after the game, we were really unhappy with the fourth quarter. Seems to be a little bit of a common theme, like coming out of games, we've not been happy with that last quarter. And I think in the last few minutes we tried to play possession, which I think in some ways was good for us because I think the circle defence from Pulse in that last quarter were winning a lot of ball. But as we've reflected, we're like, actually, we should have pushed on and carried on going to goal to get extra points so that they weren't within 5. So it's a learning curve for us. I'd rather it happen now than later down the line, but we're definitely not happy with that last quarter and we're not shying away from it as well.
The introduction of the Supershot I think has been really interesting for this because there's this whole sort of understanding of how we want to play the game. Obviously we've seen it in SSN, it's been brought over here, there was loads of chat about whether we liked it. I love it because it's brought a whole new element from the coaching perspective, and I'm sure you're getting that information as well, but it's so different. It's like, do you starve the other team of possession? Do you attack them on a turnover? Do you go for 2 points? Like, how are you as Loughborough approaching it, or has it genuinely changed as the season's gone on?
I think having Sammy in has been really helpful. She brought a lot of knowledge about the Supershot and ways that we can, use it as a strength, but there's still definitely learning there. Like, for example, if you're up by 10, now 10 isn't a big margin at all. And I think as a shooter, it's like, do we take the 1 and try and tick over? But then if you've got someone like Sophie Kelly in the last quarter just slotting in the 2s, like at what point then do we have to challenge ourselves to take them? So we're still learning about that and we're still growing and developing, but I think we're in a good place with it and I think we are utilising it well so far.
You're not doing too badly second in the league. It's been a very comfortable season for you guys so far, considering the injury to Sammy Wallace and the 2 different circles you've had to play with. Have you really embraced that? Has that been helpful for your game?
Yeah, I think coming into the season, I think Ella probably expected to fit more into the goal attack role, and I think I probably expected that as well, that me and Ella would probably share that role together. So I think having that quick change at the start of the season has really helped us grow a combination as well, and I think it might have taken a few weeks to grow that, but actually now we're in a really good position that we have got that as an option, and I think maybe it's been a bit of a blessing for us to have that opportunity despite obviously Sammy not being available for the first few games. So I think obviously we saw it yesterday at the start of the fourth quarter, we can make those changes and Vic trusts that me and Ella can do a job and that Ella and Sammy can do a job, so it's been really nice to have all 3 combinations working really well. So yeah, it was good to get that at the start of the season, but obviously it is really nice to have Sammy back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have listener questions, and we always ask you to send things in. This week, send stuff in to Berri Neil, and they've stolen some of my questions, Berri, but I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
Talk me through this. I watched you guys in the semi-final last year. It was a narrow loss to Loughborough Lightning with London Pools. Young group, exciting group. You'd made that move down to London. It felt like there was a real buzz there. You're living in the capital. The brand, everything about London Pulse is super cool.
Yeah.
So close to getting over the line, not quite there.
Yeah.
And then you leave, and then you go to Loughborough, and there was lots of us scratching our heads going, okay, I didn't see that coming. Talk to me a little bit about that move, because it wasn't just me that was going to ask that. There were several people at home that wanted to know too.
I really enjoyed London Pulse. I think when I first moved there, I only agreed to 2 years and I ended up doing 3. So I did absolutely love it there. I've had some of my best moments and memories there. I think initially quite naive at 18 years old. I was like, I'll do 2 years and then I'll be good enough to get back in Thunder and I'll just play in Manchester. But obviously times change so much and what can happen in a year is so different to what you might have planned at the start of the year, and I think moving to Loughborough was never actually in my plans. Playing for Thunder and playing for Pulse, Loughborough was always kind of the team you wanted to beat, and I think every single playoff I've been in, I've been beat by Loughborough. So they were kind of the enemy at one point. But I think towards the end of last season, I knew I needed something different. I don't think I was playing to my best ability. And whilst I was in an amazing group of girls, like, I think I needed more from myself. So it's a hard decision to make, but I think as soon as Vic reached out, I was like, this just feels right. This feels like where I need to go. The amount of experience that's in the team, the coaching. So yeah, I'm definitely happy with the decision that I've made.
Well, talk to me about that experience then, because Pulse got off to an absolute flyer.
Yeah.
They looked untouchable, and I guess they've kind of peaked at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see what next depth they've got. They've been beaten by Forest now. They've been beaten by you guys. They've been pushed by other teams. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to be right up there challenging for the grand final, but they don't look as untouchable as perhaps they did a few weeks ago. How much does that experience matter? Because it's very apparent that they don't necessarily have that across the board. They've had players playing, but when you look at your average age, it's something like 32 across the squad of Loughborough Line. You are bringing that age down. But it matters, right, in crunch times.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I've really noticed that this year, like if we've been down at half time or if we've not had a good start, I feel like I've got those people around me to really get me out of it. Like I said last week, I know I got player of the match, but the first quarter I wasn't happy with what I put out there. And then going into changing rooms and having like Sammy and Hannah and Nat telling me what they want me to do, like that experience does really help. And I think London Pulse are an amazing side. And even when I played for Pulse last year, there was never a doubt in my mind that we could win the league. And we did fall short due to performance, but I think they will still have that belief that they can do it, and we know that we need to step up if we want to beat a side like that. Like, yeah, they don't have as much experience, but they're so exciting and they have nothing to lose. So I think we have to be aware of that, and we can use our strengths of experience to counter that, but they're going to come out bigger and better, I think.
I mean, if anybody's going to help Pulse get over the line, it's Fumi Fidoju. How was it going from training environment to playing against her? Because you must know all the tricks of the trade as well. You must know how to wind her up.
Actually, Fumi doesn't get wound up ever.
At all?
I've never seen Fumi get wound up.
Oh, there's a challenge for anyone out there.
Yeah. I think obviously the first time I played against her, I didn't have a good game at all, and I think I was coming in on the back, on the baseline a lot, and actually, even though that's one of my strengths, that's playing to the strengths of Hallie and Fumi. They want that back and up ball. So I think I did like a lot of like analysis and watching teams like Mavs and Knots that at moments of the game could really break that defensive unit apart. I think I knew that, you know, for 60 minutes I've just got to try and get on that front, and I've just got to be a front option, and hopefully that will either draw Fumi to open up Sammy or Ella, or maybe they'll drop a 2v1 and I can be that option on the front. And I think for patches of the game yesterday I was able to do it, but it's still not perfect, and I know if we play them again, Fumi's going to have something else up her sleeve to throw at it, so I've got to adapt again next time we play them.
I think that's always the challenge. You can tactically go at somebody, but these kind of head-to-head, you'll have that throughout your whole career. I mean, it's nicer to have Fumi on your side.
Yeah.
So England programme, Rose's programme,
Yeah.
big couple of years coming up, Commonwealth Games and World Cup. What are sort of the dreams, ambitions there for you personally?
I mean, obviously I'd love to be in them squads, but I think over the last few years I've really learned that having a good Super League season really sets you up for that international break. So I think in 2023 I probably had my best season of Super League that I've had, and I felt like I really just kind of flowed into that international break, and the performances just kind of came themselves with the hard work I was putting in. And then I think last year I kind of saw a different side to it, where maybe I'd not had as strong of a season, and then having to then step up again is really hard. So I think for me the main focus is performing in Super League, and I think I'm starting to get there. I had a bit of a slow start to the season, but it's building, and then I think that will hopefully take me into that environment and I can push on further from there.
You talk about this flow into it. It's a definite flow. It's sometimes like a rushing river, right? Because you get no break. It's just constantly from one thing to another. How important then is your off the court time? Because you've gone from up north down to London. Now you're living in a slightly more chilled Loughborough environment. But that off the court piece really matters, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that was a big maybe like reason for me to move clubs. Like obviously the rent in London is extortionate, so I was working a full-time job, so I'd work 9 to 5 and then I'd have to travel from West London to East London for training. It would take me about 2 hours. It was like 4 tubes and a bus, and I was doing that every day. And then even sometimes if we played on a Saturday night, I'd work the morning because I just needed the money for rent. And I think actually a performance decision for me this year was, you know, I need to be somewhere where I can do this full time, where I don't have to worry about being tired and burning myself out. Like netball has to be my main focus. So that was another reason for the move, definitely.
Off the court, I love following you on Instagram. Yours is probably the most professional, fresh look that you can see. Mine is just all kinds of manic, random stuff. But you've got yourself an agent. You are certainly putting you out there in terms of like an influencer kind of netballer. I love it. I think this is the missing vibe for netballers across, and you guys are in the perfect generation. We're hitting a professional era where you get to make a career out of it, and we've seen netballers in their dual careers. But this whole idea of sort of being an influencer in a different way, is that kind of the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I think so. I love social media. I've always been like the friend that will take pictures of everything. Wherever we go for food, I'll take pictures of every meal.
You're very good at that, by the way. I want to be wherever you are, basically.
I just tried to make it look good. But
it's nice.
I love that. That would be like a dream career for me. I've always said that if I wasn't in netball, I wanted to do something with either TV or social media. That's always been like a real passion of mine. And I think there is like a gap in the market for that in netball. I think a lot of fans probably don't know us really well as players, and I think that's what's so good about this podcast. You get to hear from players, but I think there's not enough of it, and more players can do that to grow it. And I think especially when I was younger, going to Funder games, like my favourite players would just always be like the players that had such a big personality, like Helen Housby. I remember watching her when I was like 12 years old, and like just her energy on court, and then I followed her on social media and I loved what she was posting. And I think that's where we need to go if we want to grow the sport. Social media is massive nowadays, so yeah, that's the aim, to keep building it.
Was she sort of your shooting idol?
Yeah, I think so. As a Funder fan growing up, I was at that final when she got the winning goal. So
what
that
fun!
was...
I don't remember that at all, Berri. I can't. Was that?
Yeah,
that
I've
was
not spoke
big?
about that in a few years. So yeah, she's been like a huge inspiration to me, and then obviously her going overseas was like really cool as well. So yeah, she's someone I've followed for years.
Talked about the personality, and I think that is still a big missing piece for me. I feel like in female sports you don't always get to showcase that on the court. Do you think we could see a shift in that, especially now it is more professional as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there is a lot of players taking to like TikTok nowadays and Instagram. Like I know like the Pulse girls do a lot of TikToks, and like every team really have players in there that do that. And I think we do just need to keep pushing that, like especially with like Nottingham Forest, a lot of their TikToks have gone viral, obviously linked to the football club. So I think that is how we can grow it. And I think I heard like a crazy stat that like in women's sport, people are more likely to follow a player than the team. So I think that we need to keep growing that and yeah, just promoting it as much as we can.
Yeah, it's always been like a key thing that a netball fan is not necessarily... There are some diehards for the clubs, but they also love a player. So when you shift from Pulse to Loughborough, they follow Berri Neil, not always just the club, which I think absolutely gives us an opportunity to grow. You talked about your idol growing up as well being Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Do you still think there's enough role models in our sport? Do you think we could be doing more? And do you think across the board? I mean, Mary Earps was at the game in the Copper Box this weekend, and there's always still such a buzz when we get those sort of big names down.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast the other week actually, which was not anything to do with sport, but the woman actually said like, how can you be someone's role model if they don't know who you are? And I think that's really important. And I think, you know, people can come to a netball game and watch 14 players on the court, but they're going to remember the person that brings something to the game, that has a personality, or the person that they look at their social media and they love it. I think that's just where we are right now with this generation. So I think the more you can put yourself out there and try and show who you are as a person, not just as a player, I think people will really respect that.
So go on then, quick fire questions. This is about who you are. How tall are you, Berri?
I think I'm 183 centimetres, so I think it's bang on 6 foot.
That's good. Always round up. Netball, always round up. I was 5'10". Never. Your favourite netty shoes? This is a big deal, right?
To be honest, I think some people are really picky with their trainers, and some people just pick them for what they look like, and that would probably be me. I normally just go on design, so I'm quite lucky with like my feet. I don't really have any problems. Some people have like ankle issues and like they'll pick trainers based on that, but yeah, I normally just go for the ones that look nice in the shop.
The vibe.
Yeah,
the vibe. I like that. You told me you were looking at writing a book as well. You've started a few chapters in, so that is a real opportunity to tell people about who you are, who's Berri Neil.
Yeah.
And I love the theme of this. Just explain a little bit about it.
So the book is basically going to be a bit of like a biography, but also kind of a way to help people achieve something they want to achieve. So for example, winning a World Cup gold medal. So that's what the book's about. So we've got to win one for me to publish it. But I think I was on like a 24-hour flight back from New Zealand. It was my first cap, and obviously on that flight I had absolutely nothing to do, and I think it got to like the 17th hour and I was like, I'm so bored. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I loved English at school. That was like probably the subject I was best at, and I have started writing it, and it's kind of going to be about my journey, but obviously we need that World Cup gold medal for me to be able to end the book. So yeah, I don't mind how long it takes, just as long as we get one.
You've got a few cycles in you. I mean, I'd love this. This book gets published. This is a good time to be an English netball fan, because we'll know we'll have that gold medal around your neck as well, which would be pretty spectacular. Fingers crossed. That'd be nice. Heading back to Lightning then, not long now. The season is just like absolutely
it's gone so quickly.
It's flown by, right? So what does the next few weeks look like? Is this Loughborough Lightning's year?
I think so. I think obviously we're really disappointed with the start of our season, but we obviously had combinations missing, players missing, illness, injury, so which every team does, and I'm not shying away from the fact that we lost 2 games that we shouldn't have lost, but I think the last few weeks we've been building so much, and training is so hard, and I feel like when training's just as hard as the game, it sets you up perfectly for like the weekend. So I definitely think we're building. We've just got this confidence about us in the environment where I feel like we know we can do it, and we're not naive to the fact that we need to step up. We're not consistent enough yet, and there's other teams out there that are probably sitting here now thinking they've got a shot as well, so we need to be 10 times better than what we are, but we know we're capable of it, and I think that's what's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think they've hit the nail on the head. Like, you're in an environment now that know how to win. It's almost not a final without Loughborough Lightning in it, is it?
I know.
Well, look, we look forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. I look forward to reading your book eventually when we get this gold medal, which is very exciting. Thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you. Very good luck at the weekend. And if you are tuning in, we have got 4 games coming up in round 11. 2 on the Saturday, Mavericks versus Forest, which is going to be huge. I think that is going to be a real test for the final 4 placings. Dragons versus Lightning on the Saturday, and we finish off on Sunday, Rhinos versus Thunder, so the Northern Clash, and Pulse versus Panthers. This weekend we are treating you because you can also catch the men's Aurora series, the first in a series of games between England and Australia, live at the Copper Box from 3:30.